Hello and welcome back to the Behind the Plate podcast, brought to you by 1IQ Sports. I'm Will. That's DJ. And it was
Hello.
another week of Blue Jay baseball.
Unfortunately, that's going to be the case for a while still.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot to talk about. I mean, there's some highlights throughout the week, but they definitely are overshadowed by the lowlights of the week.
Yeah.
But I mean, what? 3 wins since the last time we talked?
Three
Against
and what?
a lot. 3 and 3 against 3 and 3. If you just look at the first Orioles, and then 3 and 5, 3 and 6. I guess that's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's only a 300 winning percentage. Could be worse.
Yeah,
it could be the White Sox.
Coming off the trade deadline, our hopes are low now. Remember, we have to go for Ethan Holiday. We have nothing to lose. The young guys are playing like we wanted, and we're taking some L's just because it sucks, because we're only 2 weeks into it, or not even. It's going to get some getting used to, but we need to lose. And you have been the number one person telling me that. So get over yourself and get over the couple wins we get a week, okay? That's not reality. We need to lose.
Gotta swallow the pride a little bit when I watch the Jays. It's okay. I still do my tankathon every morning. No. I'll take a week off in a week. By a week, I mean a series.
Yeah, and you'll probably
not even, because I'll still watch Sunday's game.
Yeah, seriously. Toxic.
I'll probably watch Wednesday's game. No, I won't. I'll be driving. I won't be able to watch Wednesday's game. Friday's game, maybe.
There you go.
Yeah, that'll be good. A very good little break from the Blue Jays. You took a break from the Jays, and you come back energized, happy, and I stuck it with them, and I regret it. No, I don't. It was worth it. It's just, I do my tankathon every morning. For those who don't know what that is, it's where you can sim the MLB draft lottery. I do it every day until the Jays win the draft lottery. Sometimes that's on the first one, and I get a little happy. Sometimes it takes a few minutes. But either way, at the end, when you see the Blue Jays up top, you're like, that feels pretty damn good. And that's what we're hoping for at the end of the day.
Yes.
Because I've watched Jackson Holiday blast 3 nukes against the Jays 3 games in a row, and I'd so much rather his brother do that to the Orioles in a Blue Jay uniform. Because
oh my God,
what
a rival!
Oh, get the Holiday family rivalry. Ethan versus Jackson. It'd be pretty sick.
Oh man.
But yeah, I guess the first topic of discussion should be the fact that Super Mario Joey Loper Fido has officially arrived as a Blue Jay. He's taken his first few hacks in the blue, and I don't know, he's looked all right. I've identified a couple problems that I think the Jays hitting staff is going to work with him on, assuming it's Matt Haig and Edwin and not Don Mattingly, because if it's Don Mattingly, he might tell him to do the opposite. But I notice a little bit when Joey Loper Fido swings, he pulls off of the ball a little bit. He yanks himself back. And I think it's just foot placement and the way he kind of swings. So if we move maybe that front foot over a little bit more and tell him to just go forward, he maybe won't pull off the ball as much. But that dude's got fucking power. He hits the ball hard. He almost hit one out of Yankee Stadium, dead center. His defense has been great. More contact,
Yeah, I mean, good early signs from him. We can't expect the most. He's switching teams, but he's got a good skeleton.
He is. He's displayed Yeah, he's displayed the tools that he could be a guy. I'm not talking superstar. He isn't going to be a Bryce Harper, but his ceiling could be a Kyle Tucker, like a every year all-star type thing, perennial all-star. He has that ceiling and he has the tools. He's displayed it with the power. When he makes contact, it's hard contact. It's not little weak shit. It's just making it consistent, and that's the growing pains of a prospect.
Yep, and
Yeah,
he's one of many.
he is one of many.
So
Another one is Will Wagner, who
we got a lot of guys.
I'm fully convinced that dude should be up wearing the Blue Jay blue tomorrow. I don't think he will be, but he should be. I like him. I think he's hitting 500 since joining the Bisons. Which, how do you say no to a guy who's hitting 500? Like,
Yeah,
you gotta. What's the worst that could happen? He hits 300 as a Blue Jay and you win two more games by accident. Who cares? A whole point of the rest of this season is to see what you have when you go into the offseason, you know what you need to get.
Right.
I think Will Wagner's MLB ready. I want to see him up tomorrow. I won't see him up tomorrow, but I want to see it. So, yeah, I don't know if you have anything to touch on Will Wagner at all. I don't know if you got to see anything from him.
No, I try. It's kind of one of those situations. I haven't been paying attention at all. I obviously just went on a trip. Got my booty shorts on the
Yeah, he did.
on the beach. So 500. I looked at his numbers. 500. He's been insane, and like at this point, we've got nothing to lose to call these guys up at all.
Yeah,
we're playing competitive baseball against like the best two teams in the AL East, and you just got to test things out. Why not bring them up? It's not going to happen because they're still trying to figure some shit out with the lineup now. But I don't think anything should be even close to permanent with anybody. So we'll see in the next week and a half.
Yeah, I agree. Jonathan Clase is also like the leadoff guy. So it's kind of like it's Clase 1, Wagner 2 in Buffalo, which is pretty nice. Clase was struggling a little bit leading up into today. I think he only had 1 or 2 hits, but coming into today, he went 3 for 4. I think he had a home run today. Might be a mistake. It might be someone else. But his speed is like nuts. Like he's forcing the issue on the field when he's running around. I watched him force, I think it was the Red Sox AAA team, I think, I think it was 2 errors on the field because Clase was running his speed. It got him to third, it got Wagner to second, and then I think it was Paul Meggiani drove in both of them. And they had an instant, it was like a quick 2-zip lead. So speed's always fun, especially when it makes a difference. I wouldn't bring up Clase until September. I'd leave him be a September call-up. I just want to give him more reps because he might not get as many reps up in the big league squad compared to a Will Wagner, who will.
Yeah, you got some bias there.
I do. I got biased because this is going to sound like such a dipshit analysis. He's a ball player, When I look at him, he's not an all-star, but he's like an everyday grinder. He is a Spencer Horwitz. I'm not saying Horwitz couldn't be an all-star. I'm not saying Will Wagner couldn't be an all-star. They could be.
Right.
But they're like everyday grinders like Ernie Clement is. Like they are just ball players.
You earned your spot.
Yeah, they don't have like this insane generational talent behind them where like they can nuke a baseball like Vladdy can. But like they just go about their day. Like, his ceiling's probably a Luis Arias. And if you get Luis Arias from a Yusei Kikuchi trade, you've won. So
exactly.
It's great.
Yeah, I'm just looking, and they actually had a they had a doubleheader today, 2 games in one day.
Jake Bloss was supposed to start today, but he didn't. So that was unfortunate. Yeah. I guess he'll probably start this weekend would be my guess. I don't know what to do with him.
Right.
Like, he could be a September call-up, but he could also be a guy that benefits from just another year in AAA. and just, like, no need to go super crazy. Give him 5 innings every 5th or 6th day in AAA. Let him hone in on some
Yeah.
work that the Blue Jays have given him, like figuring out why his fastball got hit at a 750 average in the major leagues. Yeah, his fastball got nuked around a bit. So
It's fucked up.
yeah, work a little bit on that, and kind of come back. It might have been a 750 slug, but I thought it was a 750 average.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So maybe work a little bit. Like he's a guy that doesn't need to come up this year, because I
Right.
trust that the Jays will equally evaluate him going into the season next year. And there probably is going to be an open rotation spot because they're going to bank on Alek Manoah coming back.
Right.
So, yeah.
In our situation, you don't gotta speed up any process when it comes to pitching.
No,
It's way
especially
easier.
like when you look at guys like they sped up Ricky T a little bit. Now, we're looking at 2 Tommy Johns and
Yeah.
Nate Pearson. I don't think he was sped up, but like there's another guy who he fizzled out before he even got here, really. So you
Right.
just kind of take it simple with him. Don't overthrow him. Like I think they're doing a little bit with Tiedemann right now. Just let him do his
Yeah.
thing. If it's 1 start a week, it's 1 start a week.
Yeah.
I
It,
I'm a firm believer of the 6-man rotation. I think the Jays should have one next year.
I agree, especially in this day and age. Like I think injuries are more prone than ever.
Yeah.
Whether it's because you know pitchers didn't know they were injured back then, and the technology is just better to get to it faster, or like if your arm's just not meant to do like
Yeah.
certain things for so long,
Well, I mean,
So
no arm's supposed to do what a pitcher can do. The second you start throwing, you like start wearing it down. But I mean, I don't know how you can look at the season and go, holy shit, like, 20 starters got Tommy John this year. That's fucking insane. And I
yeah,
don't know how you can go and look at the fact that Gosman's another year older and he's not doing really hot this year. And Bassett's another year older. And while he's still having a serviceable year, like Gosman is to an extent, it's not the Bassett of normal.
right,
And Barrios, he's going to be another year older. Again, a serviceable year, not to the extent that he's used to. Alek
right,
Manoah's coming off surgery. Yariel Rodriguez hasn't ever had a full slate of an MLB season yet. Same with Jake Bloss. You could benefit from having a 6-man rotation in there, and it would allow you to go sign another starter. Like you can
right,
go out and get like a Walker Bueller's a name I'm going to throw around because I think his value isn't going to be as high as people think because of the injuries that he's had over the last little bit.
right.
So you could go out and do it, and it could be fun. Or you could throw a 1-year deal on a Shane Bieber, and still find a way to piggyback Yariel and Jake Bloss. And when Manoah comes in, maybe Yariel goes to the pen.
Yeah. I mean, the last thing we want to do is just tire them out and do it. Every other pitcher is doing this year is just like we don't need Tommy John for every
Yeah.
pitcher. If we need to send a 6-man rotation and take it easy, like do it. We don't want to. I don't know. I hate injuries when it comes to pitching, and like I feel like they're preventable to an extent. It's just like a lot of MLB teams just don't know how to do it
Mm-hmm.
properly to like preserve arms and shit. Like that, the NBA is a prime example. Like with their players, they're just like they'll sit a guy for extra time to keep them ready and like so they don't get injured. So I feel like take notes and
Yeah.
start fucking treating your pitchers better. And I don't know. I don't know. There must be better things they could do for
Well,
pitchers' arms and stuff.
I look at Japan uh, as my example for why a 6-man rotation probably isn't the worst idea. Japan
Mm,
plays 6 games a week, right?
right.
They have 6 starting pitchers. Each day is designated to one starter. So if you started on a Wednesday of the year, every Wednesday you are going to be the starting pitcher. Which is why so many like Japanese pitchers, when they come over, they get Tommy John in a couple years because the workload doubles. You know, your
Yeah.
routine gets fucked around a little bit. Whereas, like, you know, back home they knew like, oh, I'm gonna pitch once every 6 days, and it takes a lot of pressure off of your arms, and it'll help prevent an injury. Like, you know, I know pitchers don't like that extra day of rest or whatever because they feel rusty, but would you rather have 30 starts or 28 starts with a 4 ERA, or only make 10 starts and blow your elbow out?
Right.
Like obviously guys like Bassett and Gosman and Barrios, like they're workhorses. So they know how to do it, but
Hmm.
I'm sure in the long run they would benefit from that extra day, especially if you are looking to compete next year and you're starting to look into October where it's like, oh, every starter you're going to go against is, they've pitched 180 to 200 innings. They've made 32 starts this year, and Jose Barrios is going in there a little bit more fresh because he's only made 28.
Right.
Just, I don't know. I think 60-man rotations are underutilized overall in baseball, but I'm probably a little bit in the minority there.
I mean, no, I think you're right, and not even in just the health circumstance, because obviously that's the biggest part of it, but it also like, you know, it could be utilized as like a strategy come October, because like you said, if you have a pitcher that, gets more rest than others
Yeah,
compared to other like superstar starters, if you underpitch them comparatively, they're gonna have more juice left in the tank come October, because like you see how many pitchers like die off,
yeah,
not die off, but like
yeah.
progressively get a lot worse, and
Well,
especially like
Kershaw, look at Kershaw in the playoffs. He
right.
makes 30 starts a year, and come October, I don't know if it's exhaustion or something, but he's not the same guy.
Right, whether that has to do with just the pressure or not, like
Yeah,
you don't want to take that chance, especially when in the playoffs you're gonna most likely there's gonna be like a good chance these big pitchers have to like pitch twice in 3 days or like twice in 4 days, So
yeah.
I don't know.
I also
It's
think in my mind, this helps keep the bullpen a little more rest, especially if you can have a guy like a Yariel Rodriguez in the pen if needed. I'm not saying he should be the guy. I'm just saying I'm throwing out a name of like if someone were to lose, the guy who has the bullpen experience in my mind that who should be on the team next year is Yariel Rodriguez over about in Francis if I had to make that
right.
decision.
Mhm.
So maybe you're like then you can benefit maybe a Henny Cabrera instead of rocking 60 innings or 50 innings. Maybe he's sitting at 30 innings over the year, or like trying to think. There's not really many other guys in that mid rotation, mid bullpen area that's going to be there next year besides like a Henny. Because to me,
Right.
Swanson's the later inning guy, Green's a later inning guy, Romano's a later inning guy.
Yeah.
But those guys could also be rested because, like, if it's 6 games and it's like, well, shit, it's Friday and Henny hasn't pitched in 3 days or 4 days. Let's give him the seventh inning. And then, maybe you don't need a Swanson in the eighth or a Green in the eighth. And they have that extra day of rest.
Right.
I don't know. I
The
spitball in here.
bullpens the bullpen for the most part is gonna look like, I think, very different
Oh, it has
from
to.
like, yeah.
It
This is
has
not the
to.
bullpen. This is just for the rest of the season. The bullpen's gonna be like one of the hardest things to watch, as we see in today. Is like,
That's why Schneider's going to be traded. Davis Schneider.
yeah,
Um,
Davis Schneider.
and I want to go back to the young guys again before we completely trail off of them, because this is such
Yep.
an important time of the year for fans in either category of what you're doing, whether your team's competing for the lottery pick or whether your team's competing for a wild card spot or if you're the White
Mm,
Sox. Because
right.
the season If you're competing for a playoff spot, everything means just little bit more. If you're not and you're competing for the lottery or whatever, and you're like hoping this year isn't just this year and you can bounce back, or maybe next year's different, a lot of attention goes to the young guys, the guys who this is year one, you know?
Yeah.
So for the Blue Jays, a lot of eyes all of a sudden are on, Spencer Horwitz, who's basically playing every day. He's
Right.
a lock for next year, in my opinion. I think that's kind of unanimous.
Right.
Then you got guys like Addison Barger, who's competing for a spot next year. He started to turn it up a little bit now. He's not a lock for next year, but he's certainly heading in the right direction. Joey Loperfido, who probably is a lock, considering they just gave him the keys to kind of go for it.
Right.
And then, for other guys like, David Schneider, you got to turn it on or you're not here next year, I think, in my opinion. And Ernie Clement to try and show that you could be a bench bat for the team next year.
Yeah.
And then, Henny's auditioning for a seventh inning role right now. And then you got to look at the younger guys like Will Wagner's going to come up with a chip on his shoulder. When Elvis comes back, assuming his nuts are fine, he'll be competing for a spot for next year. Same with Clase when he comes up. So it's just a big focus right now on the young guys. And some of them are taking the keys. They're going for it. Others said, fuck your keys, I'm walking.
No,
So, yeah.
I think you're right. It's test yourself fully now. We're gonna start to see who's, you know, going to be around a long term, but we're also gonna see some guys that are gonna be shipped off
Yeah.
pretty soon in the next year. Schneider being one of them. I'm pretty confident they're gonna take advantage of what he's shown early in his career and hope for something. They could get something from him because he's a different hitter now. He's kind of lost that confidence. He doesn't look the same, but
No. Yeah.
where he falls off, some players need to step up. And Spencer Horwitz, he's been slowing down a little bit, but still he's an MLB bat. It's nice to see. I mean, and defense for the most part all around the diamond's been pretty good, I'd like to say. So
Yeah.
there's no real big concerns. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for Schneider, I mean, he was given at the beginning of the year, it was like, hey, man, you're going to be the second baseman and the, backup left fielder. And I mean, he lost that second base job by May. Spencer Horwitz took that job from him the second he stepped on the field.
Right.
And, then they gave him left field, but Loperfido's here and Barger's
Yeah.
here. And Loperfido's
Right.
hitting better to an extent in a smaller sample size than
Right.
Schneider is. So
Well, I mean,
I
it
also
comes
think
down to
Schneider deserves an opportunity. He isn't a guy who should be sitting in AAA next year when he could, he could be contributing to a Oakland A's team or a Pittsburgh Pirates team. He deserves a
right.
shot somewhere, and I hope they give him the right spot. Maybe the change of scenery helps him, but
Yeah. No. When there's dogs on this roster trying to earn a spot and you're not contributing like you once were, and things are moving at a rapid pace with this roster, some people just gotta go. That's the name of the game. Ernie Clement, all these guys. He's been hitting the curveball better
yeah,
and off speeds better lately, so he's been playing decent as of late. But
yeah,
we're gonna see it a ton over the next year.
yeah.
Like it's just a normal thing. It happens all the time.
Ernie's Ernie's to me is the IKF for next year. To
Right.
an extent, not exactly the same. I wouldn't put Ernie in outfield, but Ernie can play third base, he can play second base, and he can play shortstop. That's a
Right.
pretty good bench guy to have on there. So there's that, and also not every prospect's entitled to be playing on this team next year. If Elvis shits the bed in September and has a below average spring, he should be in AAA. He shouldn't be up here because of his prospect status.
Right.
But in my mind, if a Will Wagner comes up and proves that he can play a competent third base, there's one less hole you have to fill, right? Like,
Right.
right now you look at next year like, oh shit, who's going to play third base? If Will Wagner can be that guy, we're golden. If he
Right.
can't be that guy, then you're spending money on something. Because I love Ernie. He is not an everyday third baseman, especially not on a winning team.
Right. If you want to compete, he is not. You're right. And yeah, it all comes down to how they want to play and who plays good, but it also like we have to take into effect like things are gonna happen this off season too.
Yeah.
We're not solely like gonna rely on the young guns. They could still do something stupid.
They're still going to spend money in the off season.
Right.
Um, like, if a Loper, Fido, and a Barger kind of sit there and don't really do much next year, like from now until the end of the year, the Jays aren't just going to be like, well, shit, I hope they figure it out next year and hope to compete. They're
Yeah.
probably going to go and be like, Tyler O'Neill, you want to come play in Canada for a year or two? Or, hey, Teo, want to come back for a couple years?
Right.
My only thing is, I think it's way easier to bring back, like it is every year, bring back someone who played for your team.
Right.
But the way the Jays have been this year, selling it to a free agent who hasn't played for the organization, be like, this is just a fluke, man. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be
Yeah, it
hard to
doesn't look
convince a
good.
Tyler O'Neill to come to Canada, even though he's Canadian.
Yeah. No, that definitely I think after the Otani thing too, like it kind of sucks because like a lot of those American teams got the money, got the taxes better. Like it's just a better overall situation,
Yeah,
and you can't really rely on your franchise to bring them in just solely off your name because I don't know. Toronto's been a letdown
yeah,
based on what they said they were going to accomplish, and they haven't. So like it's very hard to like, hey, come to Toronto. We're in Canada. We kind of sucked the last few years. We were supposed to be good.
yeah. I also think the
So
fact that like Vladdy's not extended, Bo's not extended, so the core that you're supposed to be building around, there's no guarantee they're here in 2026. And I think
right.
that also scares away some free agents. Like, well, I'd like to play with Vladdy, but I could take a 2-year deal somewhere else and sign with that team and play with Vladdy instead of risking a 5-year deal in Toronto and Vladdy walk out at the end of year one.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
feel like that's going to affect some of that. Um, they just, I think the major work starts in the bullpen. I've circled some guys. I like at this point, it's all I really can do. I think you're going to see them in the Jimmy Garcia sweepstakes again. Like they'll be going right back for him. And I don't know how you don't. They'll be in the Jose Leclerc sweepstakes. They'll be in the Lucas Sims sweepstakes. Like they're going to be in high profile, back of the end dogs because they need to be. And you
Right.
can't go out and sign a Trevor Richards and expect to win next year. You got to go get a dog. And while you're
Yeah.
at it, go get 2 more.
Yeah. Guys that can control the bullpen and have experience. No, I
Yeah.
agree.
Um,
Trevor Bauer, bring him in, bro.
yeah, they just get someone to eat some innings, man. Um, and then like for hitting, they're gonna go out and get a dog in that lineup to add to
Right.
Vladdy and Bo. I don't
Mm-hmm.
see a world where they don't. I just don't know in what capacity it is. Like, is it a Teoscar Hernandez, Tyler O'Neill,
Tyler
or
O'Neill's a good shout,
is it
honestly.
or is it like maybe like a second tier guy, like a Jesse Winker?
Mm.
Although Jesse Winker's probably a third tier guy, but like just kind of spewing names out. Like I don't know what
Right.
capacity they're going to do it in because I don't think they want to completely take away a chance from the prospects they just traded major league talent for. But in the same breath, the major league talent has to prove that they should be the guy over a proven MLB year. So,
Yeah. No,
so
I agree.
it's not a fun time to be a general manager right now. Like
Nope.
I do not wish to be in Ross Atkins' shoes at all when it comes to trying to build this team for next year, or James Click. Whoever the GM is next year, I don't want to be in their shoes come October of this year, because it's going to be fucking difficult.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel bad for someone like Atkins, or do you blame it on Atkins? Like
I don't,
what?
well,
Like,
I
that's the
don't
thing.
feel bad for him. Um, there, to an extent, you can blame him,
Hmm.
but the roster he's put together is
On
some of the best
paper,
rosters the Blue Jays have ever had in their organization's history. Like you know, he's brought in a Marcus Semien who was an MVP candidate, an MVP finalist the one year he was a Blue Jay. He
right?
went out, he got a Robbie Ray who was a Cy Young winner. He brought in a Kevin Gausman and a Jose Barrios who were Cy Young candidates. Not anymore, but they were. And they got a solid 3-4 guy and Chris Bassett. Um, it's just
Hasn't
like
worked out.
I feel like I genuinely feel like the play in 2022 where Bo crashed into Springer changed the direction of this franchise forever. I don't think they would have gone out and traded for Varsho, although I'm glad they did. I will say that. But if they went out and traded for Varsho, I don't think they would have signed a Kiermaier, and then maybe you're looking at potentially keeping a Teoscar Hernandez around, and you've shipped someone else out for bullpen help. But whether you want to admit it or not, going into this year, there was a reason this team had playoff expectations, and it wasn't because of history. It was because this was still a competitive roster and a competitive team.
Hmm.
And the players just aren't doing it. You don't anticipate or predict for a Bo Bichette 223 year where he's played 40 games and only hits 4 home runs, and George
Right.
Springer regression to be so harsh and so quick, and Manoa's fall off,
It's
or
everybody. Yeah.
some of the stuff that has happened. You can't blame Atkins because you don't prepare for that, because it shouldn't happen. An
Right.
Alek Manoa shouldn't go from Cy Young runner up to 7 ERA demoted to Tommy John
Right.
surgery. Like
Right.
a Bo Bichette shouldn't go from a batting title hits leader to swinging a pool noodle within a year. So
Right.
there's just some things in there, you know. Swanson and Romano, those were two dudes that everyone in the fan base was like, yeah, that's good. We got a good bullpen going into the year. Henny's good, Swanson's good, Green's good, Garcia's good, Romano's good,
Yeah, we're
and
nasty. Yeah.
two of them get hurt, and you don't get them out the gates, and now you're like, ooh. So MLB talent wise, he's done a great job of bringing in talent and convincing guys who probably wouldn't have played in Toronto to come play in Toronto. And he's done a
Mhm.
good job cleaning up his mess. But the depth piece of that, and the scouting and the drafting piece, has been subpar. When a Romano went down, there was a Green to fill that shoe.
Right.
And then Garcia fills Green shoes, but then Swanson goes down, and you're like, uh-oh. And then Ameza goes out, and you're like, shit, someone's got to fill that shoes. Well, that's Henny. I don't have anyone to fill Henny's shoes. There wasn't a next man up thing where in years past there has been, you know.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of bad luck too. And
yeah,
and I
he
mean,
takes
it was
50% of the blame, I would say,
yeah.
or 40.
Yeah. No, the one thing I will say is yeah, our prospect pool has been really, really, really bad for the most part. Like there's zero depth
Yeah,
in our prospect pool, especially heading into the deadline.
yeah.
We're
Like
just yeah.
Um, I even look back at last year, I know our trade deadline last year was disappointing, but the Blue Jays were in a position with what they had created in the roster that they shouldn't have to go out and get a guy and decimate the farm system, because they
Yeah.
should have already had that guy. That guy should have already been there through a prospect. That's just That's kind of how it should have happened.
Hmm.
So there's that. The only thing I would say is his fault is kind of the drop in offense, and it's because everyone's been able to identify the problem. Um, Surely he has to have by now, and it's still here. Like the problems are still in our dugout.
Hmm.
So like if they're fired at the end of the year, you're like, okay, you know,
Right.
start
Let's
fresh.
clean our hands. Yeah. Right.
I I'm in the boat that I think he's the general manager next year. I think it's just kind of what happens, especially so. Shapiro talked today to the media, and he was like, this is pretty disappointing this year. I must say I didn't expect to be a bad team, and this is the biggest disconnect I've seen in 9 years, something like that. And then they eventually, they asked him about Atkins, and he was like, I don't want to talk about an October decision in August. I'm not going to talk on someone else's job. That's fair
Yeah.
enough. You don't expect him to, but there was like, like his next quote was like, in line with that, stability and continuity and like, keeping everything the same in a sense gives you a competitive advantage. That screams Ross Atkins is the GM next year. He's also under contract. And Shapiro's right at the end of his contract. Like 2025 is his last year on his deal. So he might keep him around. Then if he's not around at the end of 2025, then he might be gone. Maybe Atkins gets the promotion, and that's why. But I'm
Yeah.
on board that they're going to give him one more year with this core, which I think is fair. If he deserves the right, as stupid as this sounds, and as much as I've bashed him for it, he does deserve the right to give it one final hurrah. And if that
Mm.
hurrah can include a Vladdy extension, thumbs up. But, you know, he also deserves the right if shit goes wrong. Let's say they stumble out of the gate, they're 20-60.
Gone. Yeah.
He deserves the right to blow it up and bring in a new piece. In my opinion,
Right. Because it's what he started. Yeah.
he has the
So
right
he
to
should.
finish what he started. In my mind, um,
Mm.
so whatever that is, in whatever case it is, I think he's going to be aggressive. I think they're just going to look at him and say, "Hey, do or die.
Last chance.
This
Yeah.
is
Last
do or
chance.
die." I think he kind of felt that last year, and that's why we saw Otani. I think it's going to be more this year. It's going to be figure if this team isn't winning, you're not getting another job in baseball. Like do or die.
Right.
Figure it out.
And if we don't
Yeah.
figure out batting coaches and like we
Yeah.
don't
Like
fucking why
it's
the
just
fuck is
gotta change.
Martinez still here?
That's gotta
I
change.
can't
I
believe
get
I can't
keeping
believe
him
it.
whatever, like the rest of the way. But like if Guillermo Martinez is still a hitting coach next year and Don Mattingly's still in there next year, I don't
There's a
think they will
problem.
be. There's a big issue because everyone else has identified them as the problem. When
Right.
Vladdy and Springer and I gotta assume Kirk's working with Matt Haig now and Edwin, and you got a Spencer Horwitz working in there, and they're your four best hitters right now.
By far.
Um, it speaks volumes. We've talked about this tons. We can go
Yeah.
on lengths about that. Another
Yeah.
thing Shapiro talked about was um, how important this in the next couple months are not just for the young guys to see what you have, but the veterans to see who should stick around. I thought that was interesting. That makes it seem like he's totally up to trading a veteran on a contract. Like
Because they're
I'm spitball names. The veterans you think of right now that with this team, it's Gosman, Bassett,
yeah.
Barrios, Springer. I don't put Vladdy in the veteran yet because he's under 25. When you hit free agency, you're a veteran,
Right.
but you got to make free agencies. To me, Vladdy's still one of the young guys on the team. He's 25. So, like, you know,
Yeah.
but maybe like there's a Green in that situation. Swanson, that's a veteran. He's 32.
Mhm. Right. Nobody's safe, basically.
Yeah,
That's
you
kind
got
of
to
what you
fight for
get
your
from that.
position is like what I understood from that. And that like just because you're under contract this year doesn't mean you're going to be on that team next year. And I like that. Like I know at the beginning of the year, actually at the beginning of July, I was like, okay, this roster is going to look very different from today than it's going
Mhm.
to at the beginning of August. It's going to look very different than it did at the beginning of April. I think the next year's roster is going to look even different.
Well, yeah, even more. I mean, when
Way
you
to
have
build a
a
bullpen. So
yeah, exactly. And when you have a gun to your head like Atkins is going to,
oh, it's
so
not
to
just a
speak.
gun; it's a cannon to his
Yeah,
face.
exactly.
It's
It's
rolled
like,
up and
hey,
it's been lit.
my job is on the line, your job's on the line.
Yeah,
Everyone is disposable. Whether it even Vladdy is disposable in his eyes, I'm sure. Like you mess
I
up
don't
like
think Vladdy can be
well no,
disposable.
you're
If
no,
Vladdy's
but
disposable, that cannon goes off and it's a real
no,
person and his body's never found.
I'm saying like in his mind, if
Oh,
he'll do
yeah,
what he has to do. He's
probably.
desperate. He's not going to hold anything back because he's got nothing to lose in his last year.
Yeah. I
So it's gonna be fun.
I'm excited to at the end of the month begin my deep dive into free agents and kind of see what there is because
Right.
I think it's going to be interesting the different combinations of possibilities that not only like we create but like different fans create and all that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. One last touch on that was Bob Nightingale put up a thing a couple of days ago, kind of talking about the Blue Jays. He said, you know, this team is underperforming, blah blah blah. I don't have the exact quote, but it's like basically, there's going to be changes somewhere in the front office and in the dugout. Which, I mean, that to me tells me Martinez and Mattingly get fired. That could also mean John Schneider gets fired. Which again, firing John Schneider doesn't fix any of our problems, in my opinion. Because we haven't seen over the last 2 months a single person bitching about a John Schneider decision. And it's not
Right.
because the Jays are a bad team. It's because he's starting to manage like a real manager. The only decision that you could argue is questionable was the Ariel Rodriguez pull in New York. But like I understand why he did it.
Yeah, and I feel like for the longest time, when you have so many personalities, you could say, in the dugout, it could get blurry. Like, I think John Schneider for the longest time was relying on some of these guys to help him out, and they were really dragging him down instead of helping him out. So I hope, clearing these guys out and getting some new faces make him realize like, hey, I don't need to rely on these veteran coaches
Yeah.
that have more time than me. Like Mattingly, just because he's got time doesn't mean he's better than you. Doesn't mean you should be listening to him because I feel like that's really affected him this year more than any year. Because I feel like yeah, from the start of the year till like the struggles really hit, he was probably taking too much of advice from
Yeah.
everyone else and not really focusing on what he wanted to do. Whereas right now, you could start to see him like speaking out for his players, you know, making decisions that seem like they're genuinely coming from him more than just like, I don't know, stupid decisions that are clearly not his.
Yeah. He strikes me as a player's manager. And I hate the term. I like really do. Because every manager should be like a player's manager and like that's kind of why you're the fucking manager.
Yeah.
Um but like he really does. I've noticed over the last couple months, Vladdy's really taken a huge leadership role over Bo Bichette. Like I noticed a Bo Bichette, like you noticed Bo Bichette's kind of always been like that leadership type of guy. I've noticed it so much more with Vladdy, and I don't know if that's because he's playing well or if it's because like Bo's not here or because we just need another fucking storyline in the year. But I've noticed he's been a lot more vocal and like, captain esque, if so to
Mhm.
speak. And I gotta wonder if maybe Schneider sat him down and was like, listen, I get you're 25. You've been here since 2019. You are one of the longest tenured Blue Jays. You're a leader here, whether you like it or not, and you're going to act like a leader. And he has. Um,
I
so,
I also have like I've also realized that, and a big thing for me I think has to do with it is like he's been very, very vocal about wanting to stay here his whole career. And I think he's like, okay, you want me to prove it to you more than just playing? I will be your captain, and I
yeah,
will be more than just like a leader with the bat. I want to be a leader that everyone can look to and want to play with long term. And I definitely have a feeling that's what he's like. He's trying to prove himself other than, we know how good he is on the field, but it
yeah,
really matters. Like when you want these long term contracts and like you want people to come sign with you and you want, to stay here your whole career. It's not just like playing baseball.
yeah. I noticed it today. Henny was on the mound. They had a mound meeting, and you see, Servant has his talk with him, blah, blah, blah. Okay, man,
Hmm.
like, let's get this guy out. Come on, my knee's hurt. Let's figure this out. And you see Vladdy, like, all the way back, like, walking backwards to third base. He's like, come on, man, like, let's go. Like, Hawkins strikes, whatever the fuck. Like, it's not exact quote, but, like,
Right.
you see El Capitan coming out a bit.
Oh,
Um,
Capitan.
and, I like it. I must say, I like
And
it. Uh, I do.
he needs to do it.
I think if he signs long term, I wouldn't mind seeing a C on that shoulder or on that, on the chest. I think it's.
I
I
think
don't.
it's
I think
yeah.
captains are like kind of in baseball. It's kind of cringy, you know.
Right.
Like stupid. There's no need to have a captain,
But
but
he's
like,
clearly the pillar of this fucking
yeah,
franchise.
like Jeter was the captain. Judge is the captain. Salvi Perez is a captain right now.
Right.
I just think we don't need to make a big deal out of it because it's not like just one guy. And I get it's
Right.
not one guy in like hockey and all that shit. It's just just doesn't feel right, Like
Yeah.
you got the
Yeah.
captain of the infield, you got the captain of the outfield. Your catcher and your pitcher are your own captain. There's so many different moving parts that you don't, what Vladdy's saying to Henny does not apply to what Varsho is going to go do in the outfield. I think a
Right.
captain in baseball is stupid. But if we were to do it, I wouldn't mind it being Vladdy. Let's have some fun.
It's going to be Vladdy.
It's going to be
Vladdy.
Vladdy.
Yeah.
But yeah. Um, Earlier in the week, I texted you uh,
Right.
that Jeff Passan put out a very interesting article. And I want to get the exact quote that I sent you because it was very cool. I was very happy reading it. It was um, so Shai basically said the Jays are going to extend Vladdy this offseason. Passan stated no first baseman will ever get $300 million. First of all, Passan's wrong because Vladdy will get $300 million. But Shai's thing was very interesting where he was like, the Jays, um, he goes, as a fan, you don't feel comfortable going into 2025 without Vladdy locked down. As a team, you don't do it. And as a front office, you don't. And I don't think they go into 2025 without at least one of them locked down. You know,
No
two
shit.
plus
Yeah.
two equals four.
Yeah.
Considering the day before, Ben Nicholson Smith or Shai Davidi said that there's no path to an extension to Bo Bichette and there won't be one and he'll be gone. So, one, like the blind is leading the
Yeah.
deaf here and we're going to lead them right to the river. And that river is going to be the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. extension river. It's inevitable. And they asked Passan about it. And he was like, no first baseman has ever got $300 million, which, and like they won't, which I think is interesting because if that is really such a big key to Vladdy,
Yeah.
then the Jays could offer $300 million on the dot and just be like, "Hey, man, no other first
You're the
baseman's ever
first.
got
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
Like,
Right.
look, Pete Alonso, who people compared you to, which is the fucking stupidest comparison. I hate it. It makes no sense. They're so not alike.
Right.
Vladdy's the better player and better hitter.
All
Pete
around.
Alonso's had the better, like the high point of his career has been higher than Vladdy's. Like
Mm.
setting, like he, 55 home runs, setting the NL rookie
Oh,
leader total. And then he followed it up with 45. Like but it's been that
okay.
slow. down. So like his highest point has been higher than Vladdy's highest point to date. But when
Right.
Pete Alonso did it, he was 25 or 24. When Vladdy did it, he was 21.
Right.
So I hate the Pete Alonso comparison. But the Jays could go and be like, so look, Pete Alonso only got this, and Freddie Freeman only got this, and Freddie's a better comparison offensively and overall wise. We think we're doing you a favor offering you $300 million here. So maybe that could get a deal done. Maybe a Vladdy extension isn't as expensive as we think. But I also think if
Yeah.
Vladdy's agent's smart, he just looks right into Boston and goes, well, look at Rafael Devers. He got
That's
over
the
$300
thing.
million, and those two are like identical career paths right now.
Right. It's kind of weird that they still put that like much value in a position, which totally it makes sense in certain aspects,
Yeah.
but like
Like I wouldn't
but
give a
like
relief pitcher $100 million like
right.
the
No,
Astros
no, no,
did.
no.
But yeah,
But
like
when it's like a first baseman compared to a second baseman, it's like do you really give a
so,
fuck? Like what?
so if your second baseman hits 275 and hits 40 or 35 home runs, 30 home runs, but he plays second base and your first baseman put up better numbers, you'd give the second baseman more money than the first baseman? No. You give the money
Yeah.
to the Jays. Just got to look at it and be like, you're a franchise player and we're going to pay you like one. If the league doesn't recognize that, then there's this. But 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I would have said no player in MLB history would have ever got $700 million. Here we are. Shit changes. Scenarios change. Bryce Harper's a $300 million first baseman. Yes, he got it as a right fielder, but he's a first baseman now. And if he were to hit free agency as a first baseman, he would have got the $330 million.
I mean,
So
I think
things change.
Vladdy's worth 25 million to me. No brainer,
In
right?
total, only 25 million just in total.
No, no, no. Like like
Yeah. You
yeah,
could argue 30.
right.
You could
But
argue it.
like you
But
give him 300 million easy. I don't
yeah.
like a long-term contract, a career contract.
Yeah.
That's not far-fetched. Like
No,
look
it's
at
not.
you
Bryce Harper.
mentioned
Bryce Harper's a great one.
Freddie Freeman's making 27 a
Yeah.
year, which is
I
like
think,
how far off are we from Vladdy? Based off year, like
yeah.
age
I
and performance.
I think you could sit anywhere between 25 to 30 as a base salary with Vladdy. I think if you go
Mhm.
25, there's a lot more incentive base so that if it is a good year and if you're sitting at that 25, but it's like, hey, there's like $8 to $10 million here in incentives that you can get based off of individual performance and team performances. And
Right.
he goes out and gets that. I don't think the Jays are going, shit. They're going, oh, like that probably means they've won a World Series and he's racked up
Mhm.
3 MVPs or 2 MVPs in that year, whether it's like regular season or 2 playoff ones or something like that, you know?
Yeah. Right.
So I could see 25 with incentives, even 28 with
In,
incentives.
right. No, I agree because like with his trajectory, even now, like you're seeing, like he's 25 and he started off slow, but he's having a career year almost like you could argue it,
He's
you know?
arguably hitting since May 1st, I think it is, or whatever. Let's just say May 1st. I'm not having the exact
All-star
numbers.
break.
Nah. Since he got his haircut, whatever day that
Yeah,
was,
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
arguably he's hitting at a better rate than he did in 2021.
Mhm.
He's hit like what he probably went into May with 7 home runs.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
sitting at 22. Like in May, 20
It's
was a
insane.
stretch. And he's hit, 14, 15, whatever the number is, in 2 months. Like we're all of a sudden looking at like 30's doable by the end of the month. He could hit 40 this year.
It's
So,
crazy to see him batting what like 250, 260, and now he's like what fourth in batting
yeah,
average and
he's
like it happens so fast.
320,
Three three
319,
oh
320, something like that. Like
three seventeen, 317. Yeah, I think
he
it's like
is right. He's arguably, like
Right
he's in
where
a batting, he's in the batting title race. He's not going to win
right.
it, but he's in it. And
Mhm.
let's say he hits 38 home runs this year. That is
Like
7
16 more.
off. That's 7
Oh,
off
fine.
of his career year, which was 45 in 2021. I think it was 45. It might have been 48. Anyways, it's 7 to 10 home runs off. And that's
Right.
with a month and a half, where 2 months where he wasn't really doing shit.
Right.
So
And
I argue that this is a better version of Vladdy now than it was in 2021. It's a
over the last
smarter
few
version
months,
of
yes.
Vladdy. I think it's an overall better version of Vladdy. And I think this is potentially the Vladdy that is kind of going to be the dude for 8 years, 7 years, like 7, 8 years until he's about
Yeah.
32, 33 when he begins to slowly come back down with age catching up and father time coming.
Right. Get him in his prime. He's not going to
Yeah.
slow down. Somebody like this, if he's shown this like pretty consistently over the last few years, like we've seen him at low points, and his low points
Are better
were
years than average. Like it's an average player's career year. Fuck, it was
right.
his home run total last year was a Bo Bichette career year. And we're
Yeah.
shitting on Vladdy because he hit 260.
Yeah.
He hit 20 something he hit 26 home runs last year. Bo Bichette hasn't sniffed 20.
Yeah. So like you really got to take it into consideration. Like
Yeah.
what's okay, I'm not jinxing it, but what's the worst that could happen? You give him 27 million. Like I feel like that's a no-brainer to lock him up.
Say you give him 27 million and he turns into 2022 Vladdy, where
Right.
it's 270 hitter and 30 home runs. That's
So
not that
what?
bad.
Yeah.
That's really good. Say he turns into 2023 Vladdy, where he's hitting 268, but he's going to hit you 26 to 30 home runs every year. Would you
Driving
complain about
90.
that? Probably
Yeah.
not. You probably would, because you'd be like, oh, you're supposed to be our guy, blah, 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 blah.
Expectations,
The
right.
expectations, but the overall numbers are still fine. Like,
Right. For a first baseman,
I'm pretty, he's
yeah.
top 5 in total Blue Jay career home runs already. So,
I know.
if he played a full year here, he would be the first Blue Jay to have their number properly retired. Well, I guess Halliday has his number retired.
Holiday, yeah.
But Vladdy would Vladdy would probably get a statue. Vladdy's numbers in the rafters. He's on the level of excellence. Like the Jays don't retire numbers for the hell of it like the Yankees do.
Mhm. Yeah.
Even Jose Bautista didn't get his goddamn number retired.
Right.
Yet.
You keep up these numbers,
Yeah.
even his worst year, and he's
You're
getting
getting a
like
street named after you.
right, right, right.
His numbers going up there. It's gonna go
He's the guy.
his numbers sit next to Halliday. He'll be going into the Hall of Fame as a Blue Jay. There's
And
how do you not do it?
and he would have a better career than his father if he kept up this pace.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, like,
I just yeah.
it's gonna be interesting to see Joey Votto. That's interesting. We never really talked about that.
Yeah, I don't know. There isn't a whole bunch to talk about yet.
He hit some nukes.
He hit a nuke. He's hitting the
I think
ball.
he has two, right?
I thought he only had one. He might have two.
2 nukes he's
I
batting.
don't know.
333.
Yeah.
2 nukes.
I
That's kind of interesting. Over
don't know.
1,000 OPS.
I'd love to see his farewell. I'd love to see final week in Toronto, September.
Yeah,
Joey
that's what
Votto's
I was
playing.
thinking. Yeah.
But
Right.
I don't want to take away at bats from an Addison Barger or a Joey Loperfido when those guys are fighting for his spot on the roster next year, just for the Joey Votto send off because he was hurt the whole year. But at the same breath, it's a wasted opportunity on that final weekend, fan appreciation weekend, to not have Joey Votto in Toronto for his farewell, goodbye to baseball.
That's what I need.
They would sell out that whole weekend. They'd probably sell out the whole week, if they went in and So Joey Votto's up. He's going to play all 3 against Boston and all 3 against Miami, because I think that's the end of the season. I guarantee you 5 of those 6 games are sold out, especially the weekend. The weekend's going to be sold out no matter what. But if you could, if you're getting the final 5 of 6 games sold out and Joey Votto's there, even if he doesn't perform well, I want to see it. I talked myself into Joey Votto in like December because I thought it would be pretty cool to see him hit a home run in Rogers Center in a Blue Jay uniform. Like, I'd wear all 6 uniforms. Like, I'd wear the whites, I'd wear the blue, I'd wear the baby blue, I'd wear the red, and I'd wear the City Connect. I'd get him in all. And then whatever one he has his best game in, like, I'd probably end in the blue one, but I'd wear them all. Wear them all once with him in it. Just get it. Like, hey, man, these are all the jerseys you would have worn throughout the year if you didn't roll your ankle, pussy. And here we go.
Yeah. No, I want to see him. That's why I brought it up. I want to see him up.
I want to see him, but
it's worth it. Like, I mean,
yeah.
I get the rookies, but like, come on. It's Joey Votto. You got to give him a shot. Like, give him a weekend. Give him a week.
Let him DH. Like, don't make him play first base. Like, if you let him DH, you can throw Vladdy at first, Horwitz at second, Wagner can play third, Bo or Jimenez can play short if Bo's back. I assume he would be. And like a Barger and Loper Vito can 50-50 the duties that week. And whatever else is there, figure it out. But I'd give Joey Votto, if you don't want to give him the 6 games, that makes sense. Maybe that's a stretch. I'd give him the weekend just to say goodbye to baseball.
They're going to put him on the field. I think it's inevitable.
It's going to happen. It's not going to happen before September. I'll say that. He's a September call-up.
Right.
He also has to be added to the 40-man roster because he's a minor league contract, was never added. Right. So, something in there, like maybe a Yeri Rodriguez gets sent the fuck back to somewhere else because, God forbid, he ain't losing much there to begin with. So, maybe a Ryan Burr is gone.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. If you gave me the option between a Joey Votto at bat or a Stuart Burrow at bat, I'm taking Joey Votto 10 times out of 10.
Bingo. Exactly.
But if it's like Joey Votto or Loper Vito or Barger, I might go for Loper and Barger.
Really? Even for a week?
Again, it depends. It depends on the situation. It depends on how it's going. Like if Barger and Loper Vito are on a heater, how do you be like, hey, man, we're sit the fuck down. But then it's like maybe a Barger plays third base and maybe a Wagner sits. Or maybe Bo doesn't come back.
They're going to make it work.
He's going to play. He'll play at least one game as a Blue Jay. And I would buy a Joey Votto jersey.
It's going to be like one of those weird statistics in 10 years.
Yeah. How many games did Joey Votto play with the Blue Jays?
Or like
1.
Who did Joey Votto play for in his career? And then people would be like,
who did Joey Votto end his career with? And everyone would be like, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one.
Yeah. What happens? We never talked about this either, but what happens if Bo Bichette comes back and starts raking again?
I don't know. I think he's on the team in 2025, so I think you just sit there and hope it lasts.
Yeah.
I think he plays out 2025. He gets hit with a QO. He tells the Blue Jays to screw off. The Jays give him some, pathetic little offer and be like, hey, we tried. And he's going to go sign probably out in the National League, would be my guess. If I had to guess a team, I could see Miami. They're going to have a couple young guys coming up. They could need a shortstop. The Cubs could be interested. Maybe the Cardinals are interested. Like, he'll have a market. You don't go into free agency as a 25, 26-year-old shortstop and not have a market.
Especially with the ceiling that he has.
Detroit. I think Detroit would be hard on him. Replace Javi with him.
Hard.
Yeah, I think the bigger question is, what do you do if Bo Bichette doesn't come back this year?
Right.
Because then you're like, you can't trade him, even if you wanted to. And now you're kind of like, oh shit, like we don't know what we're gonna get out of you next year. And Leo Jimenez has kind of been a dude.
Yeah, puts you in a
I
tough
don't know.
spot.
It
Puts
is.
you in a tough spot.
It'd just be better if Bobuchek could figure it out and be a September call up too. I
Yeah,
kind of
bet.
wish September gave you 30 people instead of 28
Yeah,
because
right now we need
we
more.
we could use adding 4 spots instead of 2. I wouldn't
Yeah,
go back to 40, but you could argue for 30. Anyhow,
yeah. No,
um,
I agree.
last week we made predictions.
Oh God.
We both said 1 and 3. There's a few more games than that in between.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, we were roughly around there. Maybe we went 2 and 5.
Yeah.
So, whatever. You said Vladdy is your Blue Jay of the week. I said Joey Loperfido. I'm pretty confident in giving it to Jordan Romano.
Yeah,
And Vladdy is going to be the Blue Jay of the week. He kind of killed it in New York. He killed it in Baltimore.
He killed it in Baltimore, especially a 7
Yeah.
for 10.
Baltimore announcers were ready to kill themselves every time Vladimir Guerrero Jr. stepped up to the plate. And I was like, yeah, this is how it fucking feels, man.
Well, and still, like, now, every game is like, okay, he'll get a hit, and then, like, he gets a walk or gets hit by a pitch. He's on base 2 times. Maybe he's not hitting a home run, but he's still, like, on base every single game, knock on wood. Oh, you had something to say about a specific pitcher.
Oh, yeah, Craig Kimbrell's a bitch. But, like, we all knew that. Like,
Yeah.
at least he had the decency to hit him in the back and not Garrett Cole goon style and hit him in the hand. But, I mean, we can talk about all we want about was it intentional or not. Craig Kimbrell isn't the type of guy to lose control and throw 97 into an all-star's back who plays for the team that hit their catcher in the face and broke Jordan Westbrook's hand. I'm just, out of respect, I respect that he did it. It was to the back, It's not like he was out there to try and hurt Vladdy because they could have easily thrown it at his dome or like at his hand and ended its season. So I respect them for that, I guess. But you're still pretty classless if you're going to throw at a player in 2024. Like let's grow up. I'm so tired of the mentality of, well, we need to throw at you because it's revenge. You want revenge? Strike them out. Make them look stupid. Make the, beat down on the Blue Jays. Be like, wow, you hit our guy in the face, but we just kicked the shit out of you guys, and you guys look embarrassing next to us. Right now, that's just not the case. I don't know.
Especially like
I was very annoyed with it yesterday. But this was another thing that like it struck me as a John Schneider players manager.
Right.
Vladdy didn't even get out of the batter's box before John Schneider was out of the dugout. Barking at Craig Kimbrell, calling him a bitch or whatever, and checking in on Vladdy and walking him down to first, and then going, "Hey, fuck you, man! Like, don't ever do that again, or we're coming at your neck."
Yeah.
So there's that. I am glad the Jays didn't hit anyone in return.
Yeah.
Because if they did, that'd be pretty shitty of them. You don't want to ruin a player's season. No matter what jersey he wears, like you don't want to go after like an Aaron Judge's head because he wears a Yankee jersey and a Yankee hit you the night before, or like if they were to throw to Jackson Holiday or like a Gunnar Henderson, it'd be like, what are you doing, guys? Like, come on,
grow up.
But I'd be pretty confident in saying that yesterday's pitch to Vladdy was a message of like we didn't forget, but this is even. I would say it was
crystal
as clear as clear could be that Craig Kimbrell doesn't miss that bad, even on his worst years. And this is like an all-star. This is a first or second ballot Hall of Famer. He's not losing a fastball like that at that point in the game by accident.
And not to mention that, like, come on.
They were also losing.
At this point of the season, how many players do the Blue Jays have that were like, okay, please don't get hurt. We need you.
Yeah.
Vladdy's that guy.
Like, there's no other player to send that message to but Vladdy. Like, if they hit an Ernie Clement, no offense to Ernie, I
It
wouldn't be
was an
like,
accident.
oh my God, the
Yeah,
hell.
yeah. It was an
But,
accident.
we broke their catcher's nose and broke their shortstop's hand or their second baseman's hand. They went, well, what's tit for tat? We'll throw it at Vladdy's back. And
Right.
they did. And it didn't affect him in the long run because Vladdy's built back there.
He's
But
just taking back shots.
he did it, man. Kimbrel gave him some back shots. But,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. Whatever you want to say. But we have record predictions for the next podcast, which happens on the 18th. We play 9 games in that stretch. All of them. No, not all of them are on the road. I was going to lie to you there. Actually, no, they aren't because we were in Oakland earlier in the year. We have Oakland for 3. Then we have, I think it's LA for 3 in LA against the Angels. And then we go to Wrigley, finish her out against the Cubs next weekend before they come back home for a homestand. That's 9 games. What's your record prediction?
This one's tough because I would like to say we lose, but this
This
is
is a
like
big stretch. They're
this
gonna
is a
play
big
teams that are all Oakland doesn't
shitty.
matter because they aren't in the draft lottery stocks. But
Yeah,
LA is in front of them for Ethan Holiday right now, odds.
yeah.
Barely, but they are. Chicago's
Mhm.
barely just behind them, and they've had a lost season in a sense.
Yeah,
So
it's tough because I want to say
it's
that
a
we
big week
lose,
for the
but like,
loser bowl.
yeah, I think we're better than. No, well, I
I have
could
my
see us
record.
going 5. I could see us going 5-4, but on the, I just don't want to go on a winning record, so I'll just say 4-5 is my guess, and just hope I'm right.
3-6.
I hope you're right.
I think they take 2 against Oakland. They'll take 1 against the Angels, and then Chicago will sweep us because the Cubs are kind of like our demon. Like last year, the
Hmm.
Cubs weren't good, and they took it to the Blue Jays. In 2022, the Cubs weren't good, and they kind of took it to the Blue Jays a bit. And now that the Blue Jays are bad, I expect them to take it to the Blue Jays again.
Yeah.
And that way,
At
Brendan can
Wrigley.
have his fun. Let him.
When were we last at Wrigley Field? I don't remember.
I want to say 2021 or 2019.
Yeah, I don't remember. That's gonna
Oh,
be
no, it was 2017. Like 2017, 2016. Like it was like Stroman era, Donaldson, Tulowitzki. I'm
it's
pretty
been a
sure.
while,
It's been
huh?
a minute. It's been a minute. Well, it's
I
just
like
been there
Angels
like 2
too.
years ago. We're just,
Yeah, yeah, seriously. I could
hold up.
search it out.
Yeah. Blue Jay of the week. I'll go first. Um, hmm. I'm stuck between 2 guys, and neither of them are named Vladimir Guerrero Jr. because I like to have fun. And I think I know who I'm going to take.
Take it.
Mr. Spock, Captain Kirk.
He's been killing it. He looks different.
I actually have the numbers. This could influence your decision on your Blue Jay of the week, might I just add. Also, for people wondering, we're not counting the Oriole game that happens tomorrow or today when you guys are watching this. Tomorrow for us recording it. Since the Danny Jansen trade on, I think it was Saturday or Sunday of last week, Alejandro Kirk entered last night hitting 409. He had a 400 on base percentage, so he got picked off or thrown out somewhere because he's fat and slow. 500 slugging, I think. Yeah. 2 doubles, 5 RBIs, a 147 WRC plus, 52.4% hard hit rate, which is sick. And then
Nice.
obviously last night he went 2 for 3 with a 3-run home run, which went 107.6 miles per hour off the bat. And then tonight, I think he went 1 for 3 or 2 for 3 tonight. So, like, he's back. Like, he's hitting, I think he's in 250 now. Like,
Yeah,
he's
he
coming
is
back.
actually.
251.
It's
He
like
went 2 for 3 tonight with a walk.
he's just looking good, and
I said this
it's
3 weeks ago.
you did, and for him especially with we don't have the craziest catchers like pipeline to say the least. But
No,
everyone's gonna prove themselves, and when we got different catchers coming up, we just traded for a couple. You gotta like, hey, I'm still going to be your starting catcher for
this is a huge
a
time for
while.
Kirk. Kirk has to prove that
Right.
he should be the dude next year. I think either way, he's the dude. I know a lot of people are
Mhm.
calling for Danny Jansen to come back. Spoiler alert,
Right.
I'm going to tell you right now, Danny Jansen won't be wearing a Blue Jay uniform next year. I don't think the only free agent that got traded, like the only upcoming free agent that got traded from the Blue Jays this year that has a chance to wear a Blue Jay jersey next year is Jimmy
Mhm.
Garcia.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a fair statement.
Yeah, that is fair. Okay, so looking back, it was August 18th to the 20th, 2017, and we
I
got
was right.
swept.
Let's go for it again.
Yeah, so that's fun. I knew it's been a while because I was like,
Yeah. I
what?
was like, I don't remember
We
watching a
ne-
game in Wrigley in a minute.
yeah, because we watch a lot of games and I don't.
Yeah.
Anyway, my Blue Jay of the week. I'm not gonna say Vladdy. Let's just say right let's put a disclaimer. Who's our
Disclaimer.
Blue Jay of the week besides Vladdy? Because I feel like Vladdy's a cheat code for the rest of the season. You know, I feel like we shouldn't allow him to be a Blue Jay of the week. We could say like, obviously it's Vladdy, but we should exclude him for the remainder of the season. I'm gonna go Spencer Horowitz. It's a little fun one.
Spencer
He'll heat up
Horwitz.
again, hitting in
I
Wrigley
like
for
it.
the first time. Gonna go crazy. I'll go Spencer Horowitz.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
That'll be my
Um,
guess. He's gonna rake against some shitty teams. I could see him going off or Springer having a good trip. Those are my two
I forgot,
options.
I muted myself there. Sorry. Spencer Horwitz. I like it. My other one was Addison Barger.
I was gonna say, I was thinking about
Because
that
he's starting
too.
to hit the ball a lot, and I like that. Um,
Very windy in
well,
Chicago.
it is, and it's a little bit more favorable to lefties than righties.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
awesome. Well, I guess that's covered everything we could
Yeah,
ask for.
yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Ah,
I'm gonna rely on you for the Chicago games. I'm gonna be real. I need your in-depth analysis. But I will suffer through Oakland and LA for you,
okay.
especially the LA games because those things are goddamn 7 at night. Fuck, I'm gonna have to.
Yeah.
I am gonna
Oh
be able to
no.
watch it on Wednesday. No.
Yeah,
Wait,
that's
is it an
right.
afternoon game Wednesday? Wait, wait. I would never be more happy. Oh, if it's an
Chi-
afternoon game, I'd still be able to watch it because I'm off.
well, Chicago, they're all at 2:20 p.m. That's
12:20.
how
That's fine.
important.
I'll be driving on Sunday. We're good. Wednesday, I'm gonna have to watch it because it's a 7:38 game. So we already know I'm gonna be by the
Damn.
fire watching the Blue Jay
Damn.
game like a little bitch.
Uh, hey, that's a good.
Ah,
Those are fun games. I like that stadium a lot.
in Angel Stadium, yeah.
Yeah.
At worst, I'll have 5 games I'll watch.
Vladdy 3 nukes in that series. Am I calling it now? I think I am.
Go for it, man. Put your
Can
money
I
where
get a
your mouth
Vladdy?
is.
Can I? Can I
A
see
Vladdy
Vladdy hit
3 home run game. We need Max
game?
Scherzer
Yes.
pitching.
Yeah. Seriously. Holy, it's been a
Uh,
while. Okay,
yeah.
Vladdy's gonna hit 5 home runs over the next 9 games.
Love that prediction. That puts him at 27 on the year. But that's gonna end the podcast. So thank you for tuning in. Thanks for listening. And if you came from any YouTube shorts or TikToks that we put up, thank you. We appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
If you are new here, be sure to subscribe.
It helps.
It does. It'll make us feel a lot better with this Blue Jay season. And also, if baseball isn't your only need and you like football, check out Football Talk. Also on this channel, hosted by Brendan and Sterling. And yeah, that's it. Thanks again for tuning in. Leave a like, comment what you thought, comment fucking anything really, and
Cheers.
subscribe. See you in a
Bye
week.
bye.
Peace.